This is TWiT.
Big Sur, which I'm not the biggest thing people will notice is the cosmetic changes, which I'm not a fan of. Yeah. I find it hard to read the menu now. It's just everything is, all the text is thin and the colors are pastel, and it's just not as good. But that's fine. That's just, I'll get used to it. But there is this big shift that is probably good for security in Apple's new macOS 11. And they started this in Catalina. You probably noticed it if you ever looked at your disk with a disk util. You've got two volumes now. You've got a read-only system volume, and you've got everything else, and they're separated. And actually, more and more, we're running into problems with anytime you run a program. This program needs access to your document folder. What? You mean I have to give it permission? Yes, you do. Suddenly, there's all of these permissions that are involved. You know, probably we should learn not to give full disk access to every app that asks for it, I suppose. But that's,
and now photos on iOS, even like you want to give them access to a few photos or all your photos.
Yeah, they've really gotten granular. And now this this read-only system partition is signed by Apple and can only be signed by Apple. So one of the first things I wanted to do with Big Sur is a clean install. Forget it, Leo. You're not going to get to do it. You have to turn off boot. In order to boot to a USB key, there's all of these processes you have to go through. I ended up just saying, okay, fine. And it is in effect a clean install because this read-only partition is replaced with another read-only partition. Only Apple can sign it, which also means you'll no longer be able to make bootable backups because it won't boot because it's not signed by Apple. The workaround, according to Mike Bombich at Carbon Copy Cloner, is to make a backup of your disk and install Big Sur onto the backup, and that'll make it bootable because Apple will sign it when you install Big Sur onto it. Yeah. So there are some big shifts in the underlying security model, big shifts in the other. Probably again for the best. But it's the appliance model
for consumers. For consumer electronics, it's for the best. But for traditional computers, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And there's always this layer that you always have to be careful of, is that when you turn the security up too high, people stop using it, because it's difficult. And so that's always going to be, some people are going to try to opt out of things because, or get laissez-faire about opting out of things because they don't want to, deal with that. So it's always a matter. And I think what Apple's doing a lot of times is by embedding it all into that process, that they're kind of doing it for you. And again, the average person is going to be not going to care, and they're probably better off with it. If you're a geek, then it may be more of a problem. If you really wanted to dive in.
Jeffrey,
as long as it doesn't slow down performance, I don't think people should just get bent all out of shape over it. I mean, yes, we are starting to miss some of that granularity and some of that control, but we're also getting past stages where you need that. Now, I got it. If you're not on Wi-Fi, rebooting when you don't have an internet connection with modern devices is a pain in the butt. But as long as you have a connection, it rebuilds itself using the recovery server. So you don't really need that bootable USB anymore. Although in the very beginning, I screwed up this brand new computer out of the box trying to do a time machine backup, which I never do, but I was lazy and it did not like that, the switch to Catalina with the two volumes, the container. Yeah. But luckily, because I have a Docker-based server in the back and I know how Dockers work, I just had to think of it
there's
like
a fix.
Docker.
Everybody should just be running Docker, and then you don't have to worry about this.
Yes. I just like the name, to be honest.
I like the whale icon. That's what I like. So that actually is another issue that we, will probably bite people. I think what Apple's doing though is probably going to be for the best, but there's going to be some bumps. If you're using Time Machine, for instance, Time Machine will now use APFS, but in order to do that, you have to turn off Time Machine, erase the hard drive, turn it back on, reformat the hard drive, APFS, and turn it back on. But at that point, Time Machine is actually what it should have been all along, a real snapshot thing instead of a bunch of hard symlinks and weird folders. So there's going to be a bunch of bumps along the way, I think. Be ready.
And Apple allows for short-term pain if they believe there's long-term gain more than Microsoft or companies like that. Like they're willing to cut those. They are willing to burn those boats to get to the future.
Well,
faster.
partly because they know that Mac users probably are willing to put up with it. to a certain degree. I feel like, though, we are at the fork in the road, and this is Jeffrey Paul here. Maybe this is a little bit sensationalized. He's a hacker living in Berlin. Your computer, he writes at sneak.berlin, isn't yours. It's here. It happened. Did you notice the world Richard Stallman predicted in 1997, the one Cory Doctorow also warned us about? And he's talking about how macOS, basically has a life of its own. He overstated what was going on. This was one of the blog posts that said more information is being sent to Apple.
Well, I guess the question is that do the users that buy it care?
No.
And I just don't think that they, I think that's the issue is that they don't, they're fine with it. I mean, in the same way that people are fine, people use Facebook. I mean, Facebook is just,
or they use Chromebooks. Like a Chromebook is a completely managed environment and it's better for some people.
In fact, that's why I recommend the Chromebook. It's a signed, booter. You can't modify the operating system without the Chromebook saying, "Hey, you've been hacked." You can power wash it. Yeah, it's completely an appliance. Yeah. I guess the problem, there's a little disconnect because a lot of Mac users started using a Mac, because it was a Unix machine. It wasn't an appliance very much so. I don't think it's bad that it's an appliance now, but it is something to be aware of, I guess.